The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
The National Bank of Georgia is considering the possibility of changing the articles in the loan agreements signed with the customers by the commercial banks by which these loans are tied to the refinancing rate. Instead, variable rate loans might be tied to another base index, although the National Bank has not made a clear decision on what this index might be. U.S. Ambassador to Georgia Kelly Degnan confirmed meeting with former Prime Minister Bidzina Ivanishvili in March in an interview with IPN. According to the ambassador, during the meeting with Bidzina Ivanishvili, they did not talk about involving Georgia in Russia's war against Ukraine or about blackmail or actions to stall the transfer of Mr. Ivanishvili's money. Reference prices will be enacted on the specific medicines from early 2023. According to the Ministry of Health, the upper limit of the prices will be established for drugs for the treatment of chronic and oncological diseases. As the Deputy Minister of Health, Ilya Gudushauri, explains, the establishment of reference prices is one of the components of the reform, the goal of which is to provide citizens with the most affordable and high-quality healthcare and medicines. The head of the Union of Oil Product Importers predicts that fuel will become cheaper starting next month. Fuel prices will decrease in Georgia from the beginning of August, Vanom Tralashvili told BMG. According to him, there are two main reasons: the strengthening of the lari exchange rate and the decrease in the price of oil on the international market. This is The Checkpoints, the only English-language online and TV program in Georgia. I'm Elena Kvanchilashvili, author and the host of the show, and together with my team, we are ready to give you news and analysis you need in business and economics. World's largest crypto exchange, Binance, is eyeing Georgia for opening its regional office here. The only thing in the way right now is an appropriate legal base. The regional director of Binance, Vladimir Smerksis, told the Checkpoints. Smerksis came to Georgia to attend the first official meeting organized in Georgia by the crypto exchange. And of course, Georgi Armenia attended this meeting and brought an exclusive interview to the Checkpoints.
Vladimir, greetings. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Vladimir, let's begin with the first question. Quite recently, the government of Georgia has had very high-profile talks with the representatives of FTX and Ripple Labs. Before that, there was some involvement from Cardano's side. Moreover, there are some discussions some private discussions with Bybit. In all of this picture, where does Binance stand? Are you planning to come to Georgia in any official way anytime soon?
Well, I just wanted to say in general that we are really focused on getting licenses around the world. For now, we have around 6 licenses in countries such as France, Italy, Spain, Dubai, Bahrain, and many others. And we are in current negotiations with the regulators around the world, including Georgia, because Binance is the leading ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem in the world, and we have so much experience in in the crypto world, in the blockchain technology world. So we would love to share it with the regulators, with some officials, and of course with a lot of customers around the world. That's why we really think that educating people on and regulators as well on how is it done, because it's really way much different than the classical financial instruments, right? It's not just a token or coin. It's something new, because what we've seen for the last 5 years when Binance exists, that the countries were rejecting totally the adoption of cryptocurrencies, and now we are seeing that the countries are really willing to adopt it. And I think in the matter of customers, it's really important, because of course a lot of people have trust to the governments, and this way we surely will be the crypto mass adoption. And answering your question, of course, yes, we are interested in obtaining the licenses here as soon as the regulations will take place in Georgia, and we'll be happy to be the part of the process.
Are you participating in the regulatory process? Because now the National Bank of Georgia is actively involving itself in the regulation of crypto assets in general. So with Binance being as big as it is, it's crucial to be part of this regulatory process in any way. So are you planning, or are you now part of that process?
We're interested in being in Georgia in all the ways. We're recording this interview during the first Binance meetup in Tbilisi, right? And of course, negotiations with in the GR way is really important for our company, and we are planning to continue participation in this kind of process.
What trends could you highlight about Georgia? How many users are there? How acceptive Georgian people are of crypto technologies in general? And could you shed some light on the statistics in terms of population and the GDP?
Well, I surely can say that Georgia is really one of our spotlights on Georgia is really bright, because when you just walked on the streets of Tbilisi, it really smells like crypto is there already for many years, because you see the crypto exchanges on the streets and so on. And I think the local regulators take the really modern approach to the crypto regulations. That's why we believe that Georgia is it is and could be even more interesting market for Binance and for all the crypto companies around the world. I'm not sure that I can disclose the exact numbers, but for Binance, Binance users base have around 120 million users in the world, and among top 100 countries. In 80 countries, we're ranked in terms of market share as #1, including Georgia. And comparing to other countries in my region, such as Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and so on, Georgia is one of the leaders in terms of the crypto adoption. And I believe having such a modern approach from the regulators and from the government, and having really large amount of community members, because for example at this event we did sell out the tickets. I mean, the tickets were free, but people did grab those tickets really fast, and we're seeing now that there's huge amount of people interested in developing the blockchain world in Georgia. So I think Georgia could be and is the spotlight of the region for sure.
For that to happen and for Binance to be a bigger part of the Georgian crypto community, several things have to be done, obviously. One thing that we can take as an example is the meetup that we're having here today. What other projects and activities is Binance involved in Georgia, and what are your future plans here in terms of the community?
Well, at first during the crypto markets is not that stable, and it goes in cycles. I've seen those cycles like for the fourth time already, and during this, some people call it bear market. We believe that the educational initiative should be in first place, because still a lot of people do not realize how the crypto is working, what is mining, how the tokens are issued, what is metaverse, what is Web3, and so on. So we definitely gonna be doing a lot in the educational initiative side. We definitely going to be doing a lot of marketing activities. We have people in Georgia working already, and we have a lot of places for people to join us available. This is really important, because during the bear market some companies are just cutting off all the vacancies and all the career opportunities, and we disagree with that, and we definitely there's around 1,000 opportunities available at Binance. People can check them out, including opportunities in Georgia. So we're definitely going to hire more people, and of course we will definitely do the education not only for the retailers and for the investors, for traders, but for the regulatory officials, and it's really important for people in government and within the regulatory framework to know about the crypto. That's what we're going to do. So marketing, working still on licensing and regulations. If we could share some of our insights, we would be more than happy to do so. And it's important to know that Binance is not, for many people, they recognize Binance as just the crypto exchange, but it's way much more than that now, right? There's a futures exchange, there's P2P platform, there's NFT marketplace, which is the second biggest in the world, right? There's mining pool. I know that Georgia was interested and is interested in mining as well, so we can provide a lot of things in terms of mining. We also would love, as soon as the regulations will allow us, we would love to introduce Binance Pay and Binance Card to Georgia, for example. And we're closely working with the Georgian banks right now and talking if it could be launched. And as soon as the regulations will allow us, we'll definitely going to move those projects here. So business development is another thing.
You said that as soon as regulators will allow us several times. What does this mean exactly? Are you working with them currently, or you're waiting for some sort of regulatory process to develop on its own?
As far as I'm aware, and as far as our team is aware, there is no licensing regime in Georgia yet. Yeah, the government just in the process of working for this, right? And in working to set this thing up in the right way. Now, as soon as we have regulations in the European countries, and I believe that Georgia is, acts as a European country and looks at the European countries examples as well. As I said, in Spain and France and in other regions, there is a regulatory framework established. As soon as it will allow us to get the license, we'll definitely go for a license, because our strategy is to be fully legally compliant exchange in the world, because most of the crypto world is already at Binance, but we want to grow it way much bigger.
Let's talk about regulation in more detail. In general, how acceptive is Binance of the crypto regulation, and do you think that it is important, that it is a very crucial and important mechanism for the development of the industry as a whole?
We believe this is number one what should happen, because people trust governments and people feel safe when there's really transparent licensing regime in place, right? And we've seen that many countries around the world are moving towards this way, not towards the way of banning crypto, right? And yes, it's one of the most important tasks for Binance to get as many licenses and be licensed in as many countries as possible.
Another interesting aspect in terms of regulation is that quite frequently, especially with new and emerging and disruptive technologies, politicians and regulators don't really know exactly what is going on in terms of regulation. And given its novelty, does Binance somehow advise governments in general, not only in Georgia, in general, governments and regulators on how the regulatory framework should be organized?
We definitely loving sharing information and experience we have in different countries and different regions, because, for example, talking for instance about the qualified and non-qualified investors, how to find out if the qualified and not qualified investors in the crypto world, right? It's a bit different than in the classical financial world. So we definitely, when governments and regulators come to us and ask us to share our approach, we definitely always do that.
Well, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
A tribunal established by the World Bank's International Center for the Settlement of Investment Disputes, ICSID, issued on June 14th a decision in which it issued a decision on provisional measures. This decision followed the tribunal's April 19th decision in which it dismissed the Georgian government's interstate negotiation objection and de facto acknowledged Mr. Nasib Hassanov's claims. The claimant will continue pressing his case before the ICSID tribunal. The tribunal tribunal informed both parties that the next phase will focus on compensation for damages inflicted by the respondent sections. According to Nexol Holding, the parties have agreed on transparency principles under which ICSID will publish the order on its website. The international arbitration process was initiated by Mr. Hassanov in October 2020. The claimant's decision to seek protection against the Georgian government was prompted by the letter's actions on Caucasus Online, all of which began in 2019, several months after the claimant had indirectly acquired shares in the ultimate parent company of Caucasus Online. The new owner aimed to integrate Caucasus Online into the Digital Silkway project led by Nexol Holding, an international FO transit system connecting EU countries to Central Asia via Georgia, Azerbaijan, and the Caspian Sea. The GNCC took measures against the change in indirect ownership of Caucasus Online, and the Georgian government pushed through amendments to the communications law so that the GNCC could appoint an external administrator with unlimited authority over Caucasus Online. The mentioned amendments to the law were questioned by the Council of Europe's Venice Commission, which called on the Georgian government to carry out a full re-examination. Although the tribunal has not come to an end, Nexol Holding maintains its hope that the Georgian government will reverse its position and participate amicably in the development of a communications network beneficial to all parties. More business news in the checkpoints. Yes, how is business doing? This is our main question every week to give you an update on some interesting businesses that do business in Georgia. As usual, Natia Taktakishvili pulled together this week's Business News Wire for you.
Peugeot, Brigitte and another new brand from Inditex Group are entering Georgia, while a well-known brand Parfus is returning back to the market. According to Rezo Maghalashvili, director of Retail Group Georgia, the group unites 22 brands and operates 52 stores in the country. As he notes, the company actively continues development in the post-pandemic period. Georgia is a fascinating but a small market. In order to interest world brands, we offer them to develop in the Caucasus and Central Asia market as well. This gives us a big advantage over smaller retailers who can only offer the local market, he says. Rezo Maghalashvili also talked about the sales recovery in the post-pandemic period. According to his assessment, the dynamics of recovery is sharp, and in the last 6 months it has even surpassed the pandemic rate. As for the price policy, Retail Group Georgia manages to maintain product prices at the old level at the expense of national currency exchange rate. Retail Group Georgia is operating on the market for 11 years. Natural juice producing company Maisi was opened in Natakhtari with the support of TBC Leasing. The company receives raw materials from the local farmers and produces products without additives. That's why it offers its customers 100% natural sugar-free juices. Over 2,300,000 GLR was invested in the company, of which the grant of Rural Development Agency amounted to 600,000 GLR. At present, the company produces 3 types of juice: apple, orange and multi-mixed juice. The packaging as well as the concept of Maisi is completely eco-friendly. Accordingly, the product price ranges within 3-4 GLR. At the initial stage, Maisi plans to bottle 1,500,000 bottles per year. As of today, Maisi is sold in the local market in the following shopping malls: Goodwill, Agrohub, Noste, Shumbaland, Octopus and others. The company's goal is to make Maisi's healthy juice available as much as possible at the warehouse facilities in Georgia. In addition, Maisi is planning to make exports very soon. At this stage, the new enterprise employs about 20 people and plans to increase their number. Tourist facility station, which was opened a month ago in Asureti, is already planning to expand, and by the end of the year, a pool and space for festivals will be added to the building. As its founder, Georgi Baratashvili, says, it's planned to expand the hotel, as a result of which it will be possible to host more tourists. The idea came in 2014 when I decided to create a European space while traveling in Asureti, a village with different style and architecture. First, I bought land, which at one time was a German tractor station, and then I built a small European village from the ruins, says Georgi Baratashvili. According to him, the number of visitors is constantly increasing, and after the end of the summer season, the traditional German festival Oktoberfest is planned to be held. In November, a special space for the World Cup will be organized in the area, where it will be possible to watch the game on a big screen, and in December the area will be transformed into a Christmas village. Today, the tourist space station combines a restaurant, a beer bar and a guest house. The Russia-Ukraine war has changed the situation on the market and hindered the processes of importing personal care, fragrance and cosmetic products into the country. Nino Nodia, public relations manager of Vulevu, told BMG. According to her, the situation is currently unclear, but they expect it would be stabilized from the fall. Famous makeup, personal care, fragrance brands used to have their head offices in Ukraine and Moscow for supplying post-Soviet countries. Today, this process is delayed or stopped. The pandemic has already disrupted everything in the world, and when the pandemic is subsided, then Russia-Ukraine war started. Now there is an uncertainty in the market and there is reorganization, said Nino Nodia. According to Geostat, the imports of cosmetics, makeup and skincare products in Georgia decreased. In particular, in 5 months of 2021, 962.3 tons of products entered Georgia, and in the same period of the current year, the figure stood at 934.3 tons. Farmer Ivachoni, a partner of GDP company, started producing watermelon. Spanish Santissima is a small-sized, thin-skinned product with a special taste. As Ivachoni told BMG, they have grown watermelons on half a hectare, and the current year is a test for the production. According to him, at the beginning they received up to 10 tons of products, which will cost over 3 GLR per kilogram in supermarket chain. We are the first to start growing the Spanish variety Santissima. We have finished harvesting the first crop and they are already sold in goodwill chain. The product's market value is higher compared to the standard one because we bring it under special conditions, and the price of our seedlings is several times higher than the price of a standard watermelon seedling, Ivachronia notes. Gold has become cheaper on the international market, but at the moment this has not affected jewelry pricing company Zarabkhana. The chairperson of the supervisory board of the company explains that other components including logistics, labor, compensation and precious stones have become more expensive, which does not allow price adjustment at this stage. If such dynamics continues, the final product will become cheaper, although it needs at least a 6-month period. In the short term, there is no revaluation of prices because there are other factors that make production more expensive. Production costs have increased, including labor costs, logistics, and other materials, including precious stones, said Nicholas Naropia. Since March, the price of 1 ounce of gold on the London International Exchange has decreased from $2,000 USD to $1,700. Which is the lowest level in the last year and a half. The price of both scrap and jewelry has decreased by 40-50 GLR on average in the last 2 months in Georgia. The first store of body shop was opened in Azerbaijan. As body shop representative Irina Adeishvili told BMG, the amount of investment by the company totals to over 1 million GLR, which will increase in the future. This time in Baku, we opened our branch in one of the main shopping streets. We are planning to open another branch in the 28th mall of Azerbaijan in the fall, for which we are actively working, said Irina Adeishvili. According to her, about 10 local citizens are employed in body shop of Azerbaijan. In addition, body shop e-commerce websites will become available in Armenia and Azerbaijan from 2023. It's planned to launch a similar website in Georgia by the end of 2022, and it will be possible to use the company's products throughout the country. Today, Body Shop operates in Georgia with a total of 5 branches, 4 of which are located in Tbilisi and 1 in Batumi. Company Jaukeni opened another branch of building materials in Armashanebeli Oley in cooperation with Bank of Georgia. Jaukeni new branch is located on 24,000 square meters and it includes 35 different brands of ceramic and ceramic granite tiles, laminated flooring, wallpaper, lacquer paints, bathroom furniture and accessories. The company mainly imports high-quality products from Spain and Italy. The total investment volume of the project reaches 5.8 million euros. The financial resources allocated by the bank amounted to 3.2 million euros. Company Jaukani was founded in 1997 in Georgia. The fruitful and successful work of the whole team made the company competitive and took an honorable place in the market. Today, Jaukani showrooms are represented in such big cities as Tbilisi, Kutaisi, Batumi, Senaki and Tel Aviv. We ensure the import of world-class brands and innovative products into the country, said Cemal Jaushvili, one of the founders and directors of Jaukani.
The active holiday season is approaching, so we decided to give you some trends on how this sector is performing in the economy. Total international visitors stood at 387,000 persons, up 164.4% year-on-year, and accounted for 53.3% of 2019 level, highest in 2 years. According to Galt & Taggart, Georgia's leading investment bank, this growth was predominantly driven by an increase in tourist arrivals, recovering at 64.1% of 2019 level, up from 62.3% recovery in previous months. Recovery in same-day trips slightly accelerated, recovering at 33.3% of 2019 level, up from 28.6% recovery in previous month, reflecting gradual easing of regulations of neighboring countries. Top country by arrivals was Russia, 23.3% of total, followed by Turkey, 16%, and Armenia, 16%. Notably, the number of visitors from Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Uzbekistan surpassed 2019 levels. Tourism revenue stood up at a post-pandemic record high, and that was like 302 million USD in June 2022, up almost 4 times year-on-year and accounting for 88.7% of 2019 level, down from 95.6% in previous month. According to Galt & Taggart, this tourism revenue figure also captures migrants' impact from Russia, Belarus, Ukraine arriving in Georgia after the Russia-Ukraine war started. Galt & Taggart estimate that around 80,000 to 120,000 visitors relocated in Georgia for longer term than regular tourists. Russia accounted for around 23% of tourism revenues in June 2020, followed by EU countries, 10.1% of total, Belarus 9.3%, and Turkey 9.3%. Galt & Taggart expect tourism revenues to recover at 85% of 2019 level in a baseline scenario. However, considering strong figures in May, June, and migrant impact, full recovery is also likely. Airbnb demand recovery also continued in June 2022, 70.8% of June 2019 levels, reflecting tourism recovery dynamics like in previous months. Hotel demand recovery also continued in June, with hotels in Najara benefiting the most. Now, to put these developments into context, let me give you an overview by the chief economist of another Georgian major investment bank, TBC Capital. According to Otar Nadaraya, June exports detailed data came in with no major surprises, though the dynamics could be somewhat weaker than expected. In particular, the terms of trade worsened a bit. Export growth was solely on the back of higher prices, and re-exports was the major driver. At the same time, investment goods continue to have a high share in imports, especially after adjusting for the impact of the higher oil prices, indicating the strong sentiments and bullish growth outlook. TBC Capital analysis shows that the credit growth in June was also strong, and despite high interest rate differential, the housing finance was solely in lari. The chief economist also notes that the non-mortgage credit has started to cool down in line with TBC Capital's expectations. TBC Capital believes appreciation pressure should hold unless the USD weakens, being absorbed by the central bank interventions. How to connect shippers and carriers without calls, without paper, without stress. Yes, it is possible with Cargon. Georgi Aronian will tell us more.
Cargon is an innovative online freight forwarding solution that seamlessly connects shippers to carriers and allows for the shipment of loads with competitive upfront pricing and real-time tracking. Cargon is the revolutionary force behind the disruptive changes in one of the most traditional and conservative industries, logistics. Among leading Georgian technological startups, Cargon is on top. In 2020, Cargon won the competition organized by 500 startups and got a chance to pitch before top Silicon Valley investors. A few months back, Cargon announced an investment from Flexport, the world's largest logistics startups valued at $8 billion. The new investment opportunities allowed Cargon to grow within the region. Nowadays, Cargon operates in Georgia and Armenia. Today, I'll talk with Cargon's co-founders, Vano Chaladze and Shako Jalabadze. Welcome, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to host you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Guys, how does it feel to be backed by the world's largest logistics startup?
It's a great opportunity for Cargon and Cargon team to lead this way to the future expansion. It's a great opportunity also for the region, as the startup as big as Flexport is interested in the startups like us in the region, basically.
Is it a one-time opportunity, or they will invest in Cargon in the future as well?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that I know Shako is totally right about this opportunity, and also I think it's a recognition of what Cargon has achieved throughout these years with limited resources, and also it means for us that I mean it's not initially they invested as an interest in Cargon, but they are still interested in coming up rounds, and they might even participate in the fundraising rounds.
So what was this investment aimed at?
The aim basically was that, look, we have an interest in the region, we have an interest of what you guys have achieved, and let's initially let's start the process. Also, it's perhaps we'll have opportunity to cooperate together with new projects in the region, and they are very interested in that direction as well, to basically work together with similar approach, which is digitalizing the logistics, and they are happy to cooperate with us, and this basically opportunity to work with each other is great experience. Will be great experience for us as well.
It's good that you mentioned expansion, because I wanted to ask you about your future plans. Are you focusing on the CIS countries only, or you see Cargon in some other regions as well?
Well, at the beginning, right now we are looking at CIS region. We want to cover CIS region as fast as possible, and we'll see what the future shows.
Last year, Cargon was present on the Russian market as well, which in the region is obviously a huge market. After that, the war began. So how did the war in Ukraine affect your operations in Russia?
So right now, Cargon has stopped sales in Russia, and we try to concentrate on our other countries in the CIS region. And I think the opportunity is still ahead with the potential growth of the region and the regional hubs such as Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and other countries also.
Is this a temporary stop, or are you pulling off?
Yes, basically it means that we are gradually exiting Russian market by 2023. Beginning of the next year, we'll be basically exited from Russian market. By this time, I mean, we have to see how the situation unfolds. But we had tremendous growth in Russia actually, and it was very successful entrance in Russian market. And we were doing domestic transportation within Russia. So it means that it's not going to hugely affect our growth in CIS region, because it was only domestic, but we had good numbers in Russia. But and actually during this time, the demand has increased significantly towards Cargon from Russian side, not only from Russia, Cargon Russia, but to Cargon Georgia as well. But we think that at this moment we have to stop operations to see other, to have more stable growth in other countries.
You're also present in Armenia. What's the market like there?
It's similar to Georgia, basically. They're also quite dependent on imports. and pretty much similar, and especially it's very interesting when the synergy happens with Georgia and Armenia, as Georgia is one of the passes that Armenia is importing the goods and exporting their goods. So this is a very interesting market for us, and we exchange with our assets that we have. It's going pretty well.
So what's next target for you? Which market?
Central Asia, definitely, because given the situation in the region, basically the situation has totally reshaped the logistical industry. It reshaped and redirected routes, which means that, for example, the loads, shipment from the west goes to Central Asia only via Georgia and through Georgia, and it means that demand for Central Asia has increased through Georgia, and and the market itself in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan is quite big, and this is our next target, to take over Central Asia and then create the synergy between the operating offices, which is Georgia, Armenia, Central Asia, and additionally Azerbaijan is a very interesting market for us as well.
What role does Georgia has on the logistical map of this region and the world in general, and what role do you think it can gain in the near future?
Well, we've been lucky to be here and to start our startup here, because Georgia in the region is a hub, logistical hub, and the opportunities that Georgia has is tremendous. Like, I think we can achieve much more rather than we can think right now. Especially in these situations, in these difficult times, we see that there are so many gaps that has to be filled, and Georgia has to push forward for the future benefits of the logistical improvements, basically. And the Georgia connects to all the CIS regions, basically, and Eastern Europe. So this is an opportunity for Kargon in the future.
So could we consider Georgia as a logistical corridor between the West and the CIS?
Yeah, to a certain extent we can totally do that, but there is one thing I think we need more infrastructure. We are housing highways, seaports to unleash the opportunity of what Georgia has in terms of transportation and logistics. Definitely, geographically we are in a position to take this opportunity and take advantage of situation in CIS region, but we need more support in terms of infrastructure, which will enable us to unlock these opportunities regionally.
Have you been collaborating with the government for these matters?
So we had some meetings. For example, I can just right now remember that in the COVID times we had some meetings that the logistic, we had to go cover logistics issues, and they wanted to hear what we think about the issues and how we could handle the situation when it was the COVID times, basically. But right now the market is.
We are basically concentrating on building more of our product rather than this. Policies of
It's very interesting to see the difference in trends. You mentioned COVID times, beginning from pre-COVID times, and now after the war, given all the mess around food shortages and potential recession coming. So what trends have you seen in the logistics industry here?
Well, I will start with COVID. Basically, COVID has had obviously impact on logistics, but I cannot say that it has dramatically, significantly decreased demand for it, and I would say on the contrary. So logistics was one of those industries which has actually had a kind of upward going demand, and until this day, during COVID time, the prices have tripled and became 5 times more, especially in sea freight. So COVID is, the logistics is kind of recession proof. You always need logistics to move loads from one place to another. So it's kind of it's an industry which has a less impact, negative impact generally when recession happens.
So what are the biggest disruptions that you see on the market today in terms of the situation, the current situation?
So basically, supply chain today is very disrupted, and you can see the term that lots of businesses are trying to survive in such situation that, yeah, as Vano said, like the sea freight has tripled, even 5 times the price of the price it was before. So there are lots of businesses are struggling, and this is the supply chain situation that has to be like get in the shape as soon as possible. Otherwise, some other business might struggle more.
The business you are in is very traditional and conservative in every sense of this word. So what disruptions do you bring? What is Cargon doing new in this sphere?
We want to think that we are doing, reshaping the industry with the digital product, because there are so many things that we are changing. And as you said, it's traditional industry. It's very difficult to change the behavior of your customers who have been doing this since for a couple of decades. That's why we don't push our product to be used by customers. We want customers to see the value in it and then adapt to the way that we see future of logistics. And we are bringing transparency to the market, and it's very important. Beforehand, it was very difficult to basically to see. It was like a black box. No one knew what was going and what was happening in the industry. For example, drivers don't trust shippers. Shippers don't trust drivers because there is a middleman, and the chain of middlemen is quite long, and market intermediation is very high, which causes prices to go up significantly. And by bringing this transparency and by using our technology to build the bridge between shippers and drivers, it reduces market intermediation, it increases transparency, and this means that drivers are getting paid more and shippers have to pay less, and this is valuable. It's kind of win-win situation for these parties, and I think this is something new that we are creating in digital space. We are also more of a on-demand service. Like we can easily, if it takes 2-3 days for a traditional company to find the right track, it can literally happen in seconds and in minutes with Cargon. So basically, we are trying to keep up the pace of other industries, which are much faster and fast-paced, basically.
How accepting are both the drivers and operator companies of your technology in general?
Well, what we saw from the day one, the drivers seek always to have this transparency, as Manu said, and they accepted our solution right away. So we are just working now to make it better, make it more suitable, to see all the gaps what we have, what drivers have, what we both parties will not see, and same with the companies. It really depends on the companies, to be honest, because big companies rather try not to change their habits rather than smaller SMEs, basically. But we are getting there, and we are trying, we are approaching more and more bigger companies with the values that we provide.
Could you shed some light on some statistical info? How many clients you have? How many drivers you have?
As of today, we have more than 300 customers, shippers registered on the platform. And as Shako said, we have, initially we started with SMEs, and now we are more concentrated on larger organizations. And for them, it's very important to have the visibility of the logistics, basically to have the analytics, to analyze data of how the process works of logistics. It's important for them, and that's why they are willing to use our platform. And in terms of drivers, we have more than 3,000 drivers, and and these drivers are, it's important to say that not only Georgians, these are Armenian drivers from Central Asia, and we already started signing up drivers from other countries, which helps us to enter market with the data, which is very important in this industry.
Compared to taxi operators or any other smaller scale companies that deliver things, your business seems to be more logistically and more operationally difficult. So how do you manage to keep up with all that?
So basically what we tried in the beginning to do was that in the beginning, Cargon wanted to just test the product, how accepted it was on the driver side, basically, for example. But when we saw that drivers liked the product, then we said that, okay, how can we grow our business? How can we approach bigger business? How can we basically tackle the bigger market? So what we did is that we tried to make a synergy at the pool of the drivers in the region, who definitely do exchange goods, exchange data between each other, and we said let's bring all of them together in the one platform, and why not exchange this data on our platform rather than just losing the data or maybe the connections to each other, to the businesses or to the drivers. So this was one of the biggest challenges, and that's why we are trying to expand. As we expand, we don't lose the connection to any of the countries. We basically just bring more data to each other. So this is one of the key moments. And yeah, if you want to add something.
Yeah.
What relations do you have with drivers? Is it the typical gig economy new type of contract that exists between you, like in any other taxi service or something, or you consider them as your employees legally speaking?
No, actually we look at them as like employee, partner basically. They are our partners, and it means that we help them to earn more. We help them to maximize their truck capacity, and we look at them as a partner. And it's very important because carriers and drivers, it's a different it's a different community, and you have to be part of it to be accepted. And basically our goal of Cargon is to make drivers and carriers happy. And if they are happy, it means that we will be competitive and we will have good deals for our shippers. And so we are doing everything to basically take care of supply side, which is drivers basically and carriers.
How big of a threat is, or maybe it's not a threat, automation is to your business? The driverless cars and all of that.
How important is it?
How is it a threat for your business or not?
No, actually, self-driving trucks. I think it's an opportunity for our platform, bigger opportunity for our platform, because having digital platform which can easily be connected with self-driving trucks is something like today is unbelievable, but it's gonna take time. From 5 to 10 years, it might be possible, and it's another additional benefit to the platform.
So you see it as an additional layer of business, right? Not as the one that will change the drivers.
It definitely can solve lots of issues. Definitely can solve lots of issues that the drivers have right now or the companies have right now.
Okay, let's talk numbers. From 2019 to 2020, Cargon grew by 100%. So what is today? What situation
from 2020 to 2021?
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we had this year, for example, we have already exceeded the revenue of 2021, like as of today, and we are thinking to triple the revenue. We are right now increasing 30% month over month, and we, as Shako said, the 2021, since 2020 we were testing the product basically, finding our market fit, and I believe that today we have it, and that's why we have this increase on monthly basis, and yes, I think with only what we have now, like with Georgia and Armenia, we can triple this performance, and with additional investments and going into Central Asia, we have much bigger plans.
Cargon was one of the first winners of the 500 startups competition organized here in Georgia, and then you went to the Silicon Valley where you had the opportunity to meet with top local investors. What was the opportunity like? How did it feel? What did it feel like to be there?
500 Startup was an amazing experience for Cargon. It was the program which actually helped us to accelerate our growth. And I talked about finding a market fit. It's amazing opportunity, the acceleration program, to find your market fit basically. And this is what we achieved during this program. It was the program. And since this program, we actually started expansion. At that time, we went to Russia, to Armenia, and it really helped us in terms of growth. The Silicon Valley, again, this experience was very valuable for us. We looked at the problem from a different aspect. It's a global problem. It's not, what Cargon does is not only meant for the region. It actually has a bigger opportunity. But even looking from there, still our region is quite big. We started to looking at the problem more globally. And contact networking, very important for Cargon. Till this day, we keep up with our investors and potential investors. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, I want to ask about investors. What sort of investors you have? Are they individual ones, or you have institutional investors as well?
No, we have VC funds, angel investors, and right now we are working on the round. We are talking to a number of VCs from the US and from the UK. Hopefully, we'll be closing the round soon. And mostly that we are talking to our VCs now.
Well, good luck to you guys, and thanks for being here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, the IMF has published an updated outlook for world economic growth. According to the IMF, a tentative recovery in 2021 has been followed by increasingly gloomy developments in 2022 as risks began to materialize. Global output contracted in the second quarter of this year owing to downturns in China and Russia, while the US consumer spending undershot expectations. Several shocks have hit a world economy already weakened by the pandemic, higher than expected inflation worldwide, especially in the United States and major European economies, triggering tighter financial conditions, a worse than anticipated slowdown in China, reflecting COVID-19 outbreaks and lockdowns, and further negative spillovers from the war in Ukraine. The baseline forecast is for growth to slow from 6.1% last year to 3.2% in 2022, 0.4 percentage point lower than in the April 2022 World Economic Outlook. According to the IMF, lower growth earlier this year reduced household purchasing power, and tighter monetary policy drove a downward revision of 1.4 percentage points in the United States. In China, further lockdowns and the deepening real estate crisis have led growth to be revised down by 1.1 percentage points, with major global spillovers. And in Europe, significant downgrades reflecting spillovers from the war in Ukraine and tighter monetary policy. Global inflation has been revised up due to food and energy prices, as well as lingering supply-demand imbalances, and is anticipated to reach 6.6% in advanced economies and 9.5% in emerging market and developing economies this year, upward revisions of 0.9 and 0.8 percentage points, respectively. In 2023, disinflationary monetary policy is expected to bite, with global output growing by just 2.9%. The risks to the outlook are overwhelmingly tilted to the downside. The war in Ukraine could lead to a sudden stop of European gas imports from Russia. Inflation could be harder to bring down than anticipated, either if labor markets are tighter than expected or inflation expectations unencor. Tighter global financial conditions could induce debt distress in emerging market and developing economies. Renewed COVID-19 outbreaks and lockdowns, as well as a further escalation of the property sector crisis, might further suppress Chinese growth, and geopolitical fragmentation could impede global trade and cooperation. A plausible alternative scenario in which risks materialize, inflation rises further, and global growth declines to about 2.6% and 2% in 2022 and 2023, respectively, would put growth in the bottom 10% of outcomes since 19 1970. With increasing prices continuing to squeeze living standards worldwide, taming inflation should be the first priority for policymakers. That's what the IMF says. Tighter monetary policy would inevitably have real economic costs, but delay will only exacerbate them, IMF says. Targeted fiscal support can help cushion the impact on the most vulnerable, but with government budgets stretched by the pandemic and the need for a disinflationary overall macroeconomic policy stance, such policies will need to be offset by increased taxes or lower government spending, IMF believes. Tighter monetary conditions will also affect financial stability, requiring judicious use of macroprudential tools and making reforms to debt resolution frameworks all the more necessary. According to the IMF, policies to address specific impacts on energy and food prices should focus on those most affected without distorting prices. And as the pandemic continues, vaccination rates must rise to guard against future variants. Finally, IMF says mitigating climate change continues to require urgent multilateral action to limit emissions and raise investments to hasten the green transition. What rapid estimates of Georgia's economic growth coming from Geostat so far show is that the real GDP growth rate in June 2022 amounted to 7.2% year-on-year and 10.5% in January-June of 2022 year-on-year. In June 2022, the estimated real growth compared to the same period of the previous year was observed in the following activities: transportation and storage, electricity, gas, steam and air conditioning, supply, information and communication, hotels and restaurants, mining and quarrying. A decline was registered in manufacturing, construction and real estate activities. Georgia's outlook from the IMF will come later, but the umbrella title for the global economic growth, gloomy and more uncertain, does not sound encouraging. The one thing we have to keep in mind, though, is that outlooks are changing very fast according to the high uncertainty that still keeps on. What you can be certain of is that it's worth following us on bm.g and forbes.g to keep updated on everything that interests you in business and economics. That's all for today. See you next Sunday.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.